which at first glance paints a hopeful picture. And Marie has a look at the numbers from last year's FBI National Crime Survey. So what does the data tell us?
So we want to start things off with data because we want people to have sort of a bit of a snapshot how things are looking, right? Here's how they are looking. In 2021, the number of murders rose 4.3%, which isn't ideal, but it is actually a big improvement over the year before, when murders rose 29.4% from 2019 to 2020. That, by the way, is the largest single year increase since 1960. But what about other crimes, like other violent crimes? The rate of robberies declined by 9%, which the FBI contributed to a drop in overall violent crime, despite increases in the rates of murder and rape. And what about nonviolent crimes or property crimes? Well, property crimes are also down, thanks to drops in burglary and theft. Only one kind of property crime, motor vehicle theft, actually went up. And virtually all drug-related crime did increase, though including cocaine, opiates, and stimulants, which saw about 18% of a jump on its own, as you can see right there. The only exception was cannabis offenses, which went down more than 4%. So now an important disclaimer. This data is just an estimation of the National Crime Outlook due to issues collecting information from law enforcement agencies. Last year, the FBI had about half of all departments provide data, thanks to a new reporting system that some states have not implemented yet. So it's a snapshot, but definitely not a complete picture.
Very interesting. So that issue, that's an issue that CBS News Chief National Affairs and Justice Correspondent Jeff Pegues has been following, and he joins us now to discuss. Jeff, help us understand this data and the reporting here, because it's a bit of a guesstimate. And I guess anything that local municipalities are doing to catch up for the next report, what can they do to be prepared for that next report?
I'm Vlad. These are lagging numbers. I think the important thing for some people to, your viewers to realize is, in addition to some of the numbers coming down, still high but coming down, is the fact that these are lagging indicators, okay? Think about it this way. With your phone, you get a lot of instant information with these numbers that law enforcement is getting. It takes a while. These are numbers from 2021, and so while they show decreases in areas, increases in other areas, the numbers flattening out, what is important to keep in mind is if you call New York City today and you get the latest numbers that they have, the numbers are different. In fact, they show that the number of murders is down. However, a lot of these crimes that affect people on a larger scale, car theft, burglaries, they are up. And these are the numbers that people really pay attention to because they're more common. And then in New York, for example, you lately have a number of incidents involving the transit system. And so it's all over the local news. And so it gives off this sense of a city that is unsafe, which historically speaking is really not the case. But that's how people vote. The crime issue is one that hits people not in the pocketbook, but in the heart here. They get concerned about their kids. They get concerned about their family members. And they think it's a federal issue, but it's really a local issue. It's with your local police department. It's with your local prosecutor. So to your question of what more can be done to make these numbers more up to date, if you will, well, it's up to these police departments to be more transparent with the FBI. In a lot of big cities, they're going to put the numbers out themselves and the latest numbers that they have. But in some of these smaller towns, they're not necessarily reporting the numbers to the FBI. And so that's why you have this lag in information.
Let's talk a little bit about the murder. And though there's a lag, and so I'm not sure exactly how to interpret it, it went up, but just by a little bit, certainly compared to the year before, where there was an increase. It's 1/6 of what it was the year before. Is this a promising statistic then? If the rate of murders going up is slowing, or can we not even compare the 2 years?
I personally think it's encouraging.
Okay.
Because what has happened is, think about what we just came out of. We came out of a pandemic. And so you had people at home, people out of work, kids not in school, court systems closed down. And that is perhaps the most important factor here, because when you have court systems closed down, what happens is police can make an arrest, but the person they're taking off the street is not going to stay behind bars in a lot of these cases long enough. Okay, they get right back out, and they know it. And as you and I have talked about this before, in every community, there are people who are called trigger pullers. That's what investigators call them, and they give them that name because they are the people in the community who do not think twice about shooting and killing somebody randomly. They are the trigger pullers. They have prior run-ins with police. Police know their names. You know, they interact with them enough that they know each other. The trigger pullers know the investigators personally. So those are the kinds of people who, in a lot of these cities and towns, they are single-handedly, perhaps they might be part of a gang or something like that. They're driving up some of these numbers. So if you can start getting them off the streets, then the numbers come down. And that's what we've been seeing of late with everybody going back to work. You see traffic is kicked up, which means the court systems are open again, federal buildings are operating again, kids are in school for the most part, we hope. And so what that does is take some of these people off the streets, get their minds on other things. Court system is open, police can do their job, take trigger pullers off the streets, the numbers go down. Another factor in this, though, that I think we should also discuss is the fact that a lot of these police departments, they are not up at full strength. Since George Floyd's death, frankly, they've had a hard time replenishing their ranks. They've had retirements, okay? They're having a harder time recruiting. And so they are not at full strength, so they also have to prioritize the kinds of crimes that they respond to.
So, Jeff, one of the things that you've reported on throughout the course of the year, there have been these issues tallied in these statistics. What have you seen that's happening that might be considered a contributing factor to these changes?
Well, listen, Anne-Marie talked about the fact that the cannabis arrest number is down. And that's pretty, you can explain that one. And I say that because in a lot of these cities, there is this movement to decriminalize marijuana. In the past, those were sort of the low-level arrests that police could make. Well, now in cities like D.C., it is legal. So naturally, those numbers are going to come down. But there are other factors in there if you look at the numbers. But again, you know, as people go to the polls, they're thinking about what they see on their news, local news primarily, and the fact that, you know, they're hearing that there was an incident on the train system, where they go, the system that they rely on, so they want to feel safe there. As you look at some of the arrests that have been made in the past, that, you know, you would see a higher number in terms of marijuana arrests. But there are arrests that really have an impact, especially when people go to the polls. And that is if the transit system for them feels safer, you know, they're not going to park their car and have it disappear within an hour of parking it in a certain spot. You know, those are the types of crimes that really hit close to home. Or, of course, if somebody is breaking into your home, you've had numerous burglaries in the neighborhood, they say, oh my goodness, crime is going up. You know, so those are the kinds of issues that hit home with people who are going to the polls.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. So be sure to join us tomorrow as we take a look at how violent crime is being used as a political weapon during the midterm season. That's